Renee.
Hi, Annette.
Today I wanted to talk to you about sharing it, saying something. And the video before this and the podcast before that was about holding in secrets, and secrets of usually with the abuse is what we were referring to.
Right.
But I wanted to just do a video on this one about saying it, sharing it, because the more that I have found in life that I share the story of how I was set free, of how God came and brought in healing. But I got to tell you, even in the beginning, when I didn't have that much healing, even in the beginning, when I didn't have hope, but I was able to verbalize, get a little bit out, it took something off my shoulders. That sharing it helped me to breathe easier, just in the very beginning days. To be honest, I don't remember who the first person it was that I shared it with, except for when I was younger, around 10-ish, I think it was. And I shared it and didn't get the response back that was positive. And then, of course, I shared it when I was 5 with someone, and that wasn't, I shared it with an adult in my life so I can get away from the abuse, and that wasn't positive. But when I started sharing it later in life, when I was going through the struggles of the PTSD and everything, and I got positive, somebody who would actually listen to my heart hurt and say, that was terrible. And I'm thinking, I thought so too, but I'm not getting that response from everybody else in my life that I've ever told it to. But I took the courage to go ahead and tell the truth to somebody. And when I did, they responded to what my soul needed. My soul needed somebody to say, that was wrong what happened to you. My soul was like, I knew it was, but everybody else wasn't reacting that way. I feel bad that happened to you. Why do they feel bad? I had to process these things, but all I know is when I did, and I had someone listen, no, I didn't go into big explanations of what happened, but just in my tiny way of beginning to do that, saying something, sharing it, was giving me freedom, because I was trapped in this ugly, horrible, infected soul heart secret that was just trying to take me out.
Oh, yes. Yes. Well said. You make me remember the first time telling someone else also, not what I've shared previously in other messages of ours about the first person I told being my mom, but it was the second person, probably the second person I told. This was, I was in sixth grade, 8th grade, 13. I can't remember now.
Long time ago.
Yeah. So, but I remember we had already moved and came back to the town that I grew up in, and we went to a festival, and I met up with my girlfriend there, one buddy, that I had from the school. And we just started walking around, and I'm like, can I tell you something? She's like, shit, yeah, share anything. And I told her, and to tell her is exactly how I felt like you're explaining, to have somebody that was not family, not close, always around, that should have known these things, to be able to just open up. And like you said, even just a little piece of it, I didn't have, like you said, didn't have to go into all the details, but just the, hey, this is what's been happening to me. This is why we moved. This is why, blah, blah, blah. And it was probably less than 5 minutes of telling, my little version. And it was crazy that her response was, number one, she believed me. Number two, she didn't judge me, because that was always the worry. If I spoke up,
Absolutely.
Somebody's going to think, it's my fault or whatever. There was no judgment. And the comeback was, me too. And I'm like, you too? Yeah. Yeah. So in this, I'm realizing my opening my mouth and speaking, using my voice, gave somebody else the opportunity to share theirs as well, because it was her secret also that needed to be unbared, unweighted. And you're right, it takes such an enormous weight off when you can just tell it. And this was probably a 5-minute, 10-minute exchange. And we didn't talk about it anymore. But there was a unity that came in that ability to share and that ability to have somebody listen, to have a new person to trust. Even though I may have already trusted them, this took it a whole nother level.
Oh, yeah.
A whole nother level.
That's wonderful.
Your soul, just like you said, it feeds your soul to have someone believe you and to have someone hear you. Not shut it down, not package it in the way they want to hear it, out of their comfort zone and their need to put it somewhere.
Right.
But to just let it be what it was and how it was said, and it be okay. There's healing in that. There's such healing in that.
Yeah, I believe it was the beginning of my being willing to even discuss it more with God, because the other 2 times that I had mentioned it to people, it went so negatively. What is it that, I know it went well with her. What is it that you believe people want to hear when they share something so horrific in their life? Because they don't want to share it, of course. What is it that would make it easier for them?
We don't have to be understood because it's a big hairy mess. But to be told we're heard, I think it's just the beginning. I have a friend that is actually in a witness protection type program. And each time she has to tell her story to try to get assistance, you know, so she can get the name change, get the move, all of these things. The thing I continually hear from her story is, I wish somebody would just listen. I wish they would just hear me. But their response typically is, this is too big. I don't know how to handle it. And they walk away, they shut the door, they hang up the phone. Sorry, I can't help you. All the negative responses that you could possibly hear, she'll get. But if somebody could just say to each of us when we share the story, I hear you. Start with that. I hear you.
I know with both times I tried to share it, that they stopped me and said, it was a stop of conversation. Don't go on. Don't want to hear that. That's not something to talk about.
Yeah. They threw shame at you.
It's your shame, and I accepted it. Absolutely. Took it, put it on, wore it. Yes. To hear someone say, that is so sad, that was wrong, was huge for me, like I said. So just wanted to come on and encourage people. Find some people who are trustworthy in your life. In fact, some of the people I have told as years have gone on, I didn't know them for years and years and years. I've learned to seek out those who look trustworthy, who've shown through other people that they've been able to share stuff with that person and they handled it well, if that makes sense. But sometimes, and it's just something that a grown up, not a child, must realize, is it's not going to always be accepted in a, I'm not saying positive way, but in a way that you expect feedback wise. I've shared my story with others so that they can have the hope that I have found. But there's those who do not want to hear about that subject. They don't want to hear about sexual, they are very closed ears. They want to throw shame. They want to throw guilt. You're only telling the story because you haven't forgiven. I mean, the uglies that have gotten thrown, and it's like, oh goodness, you don't understand. But you know what? God still loves you, and I do too. And I just have to stop and walk away.
Yeah.
That's their decision and how they're going to walk through life, but it's not something I'm not going to pick up their hurt that they're having or their mud that they're throwing and wear it anymore.
Mhm. And some folks respond negative because that is what they were, this will be their response, but there is some truth to it. That's how they were trained to handle subjects like this. You don't talk about pregnancy outside of marriage. You don't talk about abuse. You don't talk about this. These are things we don't talk about. This is not a part of our faith. You know what I mean?
Right.
These are no-nos. We're not going to associate. Well, this all went down in your family, or this all went down in that situation. So there's a lot of different responses definitely that are out there that we don't condone, but we are sharing our story because we want to not only show, like you said, the hope that we received, but the freedom we're walking in now. We're not that person. We're not oppressed any longer because of the freedom Jesus gave us. And that's the thing I have to remember too, that when I tell my story, and sometimes it's not my abuse story, sometimes it's my sick story. You know, it's not about that story only. It's how did Jesus help me out of it? How did Jesus help me through it when I was still in? Who was Jesus in it? So Jesus met us at that place we were at and has walked us through it to where we are today. We're not just that situation. We're not just that story. We're greater than.
Amen. Amen.
Jesus. I think that's also part of why the word you're saying, chasing your voice, why using our voice is so important, because God spoke in it despite of the evil, you know?
And it's powerful, us using our voice to say that was wrong, to actually say it out loud, whether anybody else agrees or not.
Call it the color it is.
Well, thank you for discussing that. Just to me, I feel like getting a t-shirt that says, I got something to say.
Mm. Mm.
And so do you on the backside. But all right. Well, I will talk with you later, Renee. Thanks for meeting up.
You're welcome. And we just challenge you guys, tell your story and tell where God's at in it as well.
Yes.
Amen.
All right. Bye-bye.